called the president because I had some very good news from some new data that we've been able to put together that no one has ever seen before, and I'll just very quickly go through these. So I was telling the president that he did the right thing in calling for a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because this shows that over the last 2 years of the Biden administration, the BLS overestimated job creation by 1.5 million jobs. That's a, Mr. President, that's a gigantic error. And I don't know if she's, I'm not.
It might not have been an error, that's the bad part. If it was an error, it would be one thing. I don't think it's an error. I think they did it purposely.
Whether that, you may well be right, but even if it wasn't purposefully, it's incompetence.
Right.
Okay, so 1.5 million jobs overestimated. We have access to the, some data that no one else does on what has happened month by month with median household income. This is based on unpublished Census Bureau data. It will be released sometime in the next 6 months, but we get an advanced look at it. And so I was telling the president, in his first 5 months in office, starting in January through the end of June, the average median household income adjusted for inflation for the average family in America is already up $1,174. That's
an incredible number.
Yeah.
Just came out.
Just came out. So that's a giant gain.
And if I would have said this, nobody would have believed it. There's your number. We're doing well.
So the next one compares, we finally have the 2024 data on what happened with real family income in the United States. And so what I did was I compared the record in Donald Trump's first term with the Joe Biden first term. And you can see that, by the way, these dotted lines here, Mr. President, that's COVID. So if it had not been for COVID, these numbers would have been substantially better. But even taking account President Trump's last year in 2020, we saw a $6,400 real after inflation gain in income for the average family. And that compares with Joe Biden, which was a measly $551. So, Mr. President, you gain 10 times more income for the average family than Joe Biden is because of your policies.
And that's taken into consideration COVID,
yep.
Which a lot of times you don't have to do that.
Because
but
we were
I'm very glad you did.
Over almost 8,000 until
look
COVID.
at that number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we looked at which families did the best. And we have data from the Census Bureau that shows by income percentage. So the 25th percentile is the lowest income, 75th percentile is the highest income. And what I find fascinating about this, Mr. President, is every income group did better. The red is President Trump, the blue is President Biden. Every single income group did better under President Trump. But what's really amazing is look what happened under Biden. The lowest income group lost income under Biden. They were poor 4 years after Biden's presidency. No gain virtually whatsoever for the middle class. And the rich was the only group that did better under Biden, which is ironic because Biden keeps saying he was trying to get rid of income inequality. He made income inequality worse, not better. It was President Trump that reduced income inequality.
These numbers just came out, by the way.
And then finally, these are the numbers just I just showed you in percentage terms. Mr. President, these are the numbers in dollar terms. So even the lowest income, 25th percent, gained about $4,000 in income. That's a lot for a lower income family. $6,400 for the middle class and almost $10,000 for the richest. So you can see every income group did better under Trump than Biden by a wide margin. That's the story.
I think when you look at them, they're all something, but this one chart really says it better than anything. If you look at this is great, but this chart is pretty amazing right here. All new numbers. Okay, so we're going to go now over to East Room, and we're going to celebrate some very brave people with the Purple Hearts. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, just to follow up on the India tariffs, do you expect increased trade negotiations, since you've announced the 50% tariff?
No, not until we get it resolved.
Mr. President, does your deadline for Vladimir Putin agreeing to a ceasefire still stand tomorrow, or is that fluid now that talks
Say
are...
it, what?
Is your deadline still standing for Vladimir Putin to agree to a ceasefire tomorrow, or is that fluid now?
It's going to be up to him.
And do you,
We're going to see what he has to say. It's going to be up to him. Very disappointed. Yeah.
and do you have to meet with, does Putin have to meet with Zelensky in order and before you and Putin have to meet? Or are you
No.
Are you hoping
So you're
for-
willing to, that's actually important because President Putin said this morning he was pretty dismissive of this idea of meeting with President
was?
Zelensky. President Putin was.
I don't know. I didn't hear
For you
him.
to meet with him, he doesn't have to agree to meet with Zelensky. Is that what you're saying?
No, he doesn't. No.
So when do you think that meeting?
They would like to meet with me, and I'll do whatever I can to stop the killing. So last month, they lost 14,000 people killed last month. Every week is 4,000 or 5,000 people. So I don't like long waits. I think it's a shame. And they're mostly soldiers. They're Ukrainian and Russian soldiers, and some people from the cities where, missiles are lobbed in and you'll lose 35, 40 people a night, which is terrible. But no, mostly it's soldiers, and you're talking about, on average, 20,000 a month. 20,000 people are dying a month. Generally young people, soldiers. We're going to, speaking about soldiers, we'll see you over for Purple Heart.
Thank you, press. 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 Thank you, press.
All right, so that's the president there. That was an impromptu meeting about job creation numbers with new accurate numbers. So I'm sure that'll be all over the place on social media, and you can check it out on the whitehouse.gov as well. So that was an impromptu meeting. Now, as you heard from the president, he's on his way from the Oval Office on the west side of the building to the east side, where it's the East Room of the White House. Again, next up for the president, he'll deliver remarks from the East Room of the White House to honor 100 Purple Heart recipients, as today is Purple Heart Day. So what we do know is that the fact that President Trump only took a couple questions there, I would assume that he's going to take a lot more questions in the East Room of the White House. We'll see what happens. Again, I just don't know how it's going to play out today because of the fact that there are, again, 100 Purple Heart recipients there. I'm sure he's going to deliver a speech, take pictures, shake hands. I'm not sure. Is this going to be the place for a Q&A? It may be. Maybe I'm just being, I don't know, off base with that one. But I just don't really, I don't know. When it comes to the 100 recipients of a Purple Heart, I just hope that the mainstream media doesn't do what they did last time. Again, to the story that I was leading in with was this reporter asked in the Oval Office when the South African leader was there and switched topics and talked about the Qatari airplane, of course, given to the United States government, and President Trump couldn't believe it and asked that and really handed it to that reporter at that time. But it's that kind of thing. It's that kind of that callous, cold. It doesn't matter if it's anything positive. If you remember, and I'm going to get off this soapbox part in just a minute, but if you remember that one State of the Union address by President Trump. And there were so many great things that he was talking about, and people in the audience.
Happy freedom, you hooligans. I'm trying to find a live feed of Inside the Room.
And then the left wing, the Democrats, wouldn't even stand, wouldn't even clap for people that have overcome so much, whether it's medically or whether they were saved through some combat situation, whatever. That's what we're dealing with here. That's not normal. That's straight up just not normal. So that's unfortunately what we're dealing with. So hopefully people will start to wake up on the left, but hey, that's in a perfect world. I know we're not in one now. All right, so it's the bottom of the hour, 4:29, almost 4:30 on the East Coast on this Thursday, August 7th. Thanks so much for streaming in with us. We are going to cover this next event there at the East Room as soon as we see that live feed. In a quick mention segment, this is a quick mention segment that I just titled right now because I felt like it. It's major kudos to the 1993 Superman actor Dean Cain for recently joining ICE. After visiting his X account, I'm an instant fan of that guy. That's pretty cool stuff. All right, so tonight at 6 as well, so about an hour and a half from now, the Voice of Reason show with Robert McNeely, that's going to be airing at 6 o'clock here. So when we talk about, various ways to donate or whatever, it's that kind of thing. To be able to see shows like this right here on Right Side, whether it's RSBN Live right here. Of course, Robert works that shift as well, and he also has that show.
What's up, Cheeky Chops? Happy Freedom.
Stuff going on. We love to cover the latest news and cover live events, and also that's at 6 o'clock tonight, the Voice of Reason. Looking forward to that. Also, we're tracking new developments, of course, at the DOJ as earlier in the week, the United States Attorney General Pam Bondi has directed the DOJ to open a criminal grand jury investigation into that Russia hoax. So that's where the alleged bad actors tried to, according to Tulsi Gabbard, subvert the will of the American people and stop President Trump in what many are calling acts of seditious conspiracy. So we're going to see how that plays out. A post from last month from President Trump about that. He said the Russia hoax is now totally undisputed. The facts are all there in black and white. It is the biggest scandal in American history. The perpetrators of this crime must pay a big price. This can never be allowed to happen in our country again. That, according to the president, earlier this month. We're also monitoring that story along with any developments in the Epstein case. Also in the news, we're hearing from the Kentucky Congressman James Comer posting the following on X, that the House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas. This is all regarding the Epstein case. So there's a whole laundry list of people on there. That's something you can check out on X, but I'll read a couple names here and a couple dates. These are people that are going to speak under oath and be deposed. Deposed means basically statements examined under oath, sometimes with the resulting statement taken down in writing and used in court in place of spoken testimony. So, for instance, former President Bill Clinton, but I'll call him President Bill Clinton because I was so sick and tired of people calling President Trump former President Trump. Every time anybody has ever, at least in the media before President Trump, you would always just call him President Clinton, President Carter, President Obama, President Bush. You don't say former. I don't like saying former. It's just one of those things. Anyway, President Bill Clinton, October 14th. U.S. Attorney General, the former U.S. Attorney General, that case, it's all right to say it, Merrick Garland, October 2nd, and the list goes on. James Comey and on, William Barr, all these guys.
They must be waiting for press to get all set up, because I'm flipping through all these live feeds and I'm not seeing anybody who's actually inside the room that they're all supposedly going to. So they must be waiting for the press to do their thing, set up their cameras, get all their shitty questions together and all of that. Either way, I'm gonna keep looking. He should be popping up any moment now. That's what that live was supposed to be. That's why they were saying that was an impromptu little whatever meeting going on right there. Either way, I'll keep looking.
In the wind right now outside of the White House there. That's what it's all about, is that flag, our country, our soil, our Constitution, our rights, and staying on the right side of history. That's what it's all about. And we know at the end of the book, we know who wins. We're talking about the Bible here, of course, but until then, we have to pray hard, work hard, get out the vote, win that midterm election. A lot still needs to be done, but we're here to monitor it. And they always said journalism or reporting is the first writers of history. So many times we cover these stories and you have to kind of stand back and look at it from a 30,000-foot view and say, wow, these are historic times right now. This is the kind of president that could be that reform president that I remember T.S. Dixon was on the broadcast saying, the great reformers, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, Thomas Jefferson, and on. President Trump on the way to being that kind of Mount Rushmore president. T.S. was saying we can really have that happen instead of being more of a yearbook president, the 47th president, that kind of thing, but being a Mount Rushmore president, being somebody that deserves that. And I already think, my opinion is that President Trump deserves that. He's already overcome so much for the American people, but we also want to see not only in this 3.5 years, but trust me, let's come back, same place, same time-ish, but in 2029. And whether it's at right side or whatever, the point is, I just want to know that the president has done everything he could, and that the DOJ does everything they could to save the country, to do the reforms that we hear about on that campaign trail, which is all about those 20 core promises. So looking forward to covering it here. That is the East Room of the White House, and it's great to be a part of it.
Well, at least we get to see it now.
We get ready to cover President Trump. And also, speaking of right side, 10 years young at this point, so, and growing. Looking forward to many more to come here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. President Trump to present Purple Hearts to veterans. So 100 recipients of Purple Hearts. That's going to happen here. And we look forward to seeing that there in the East Room of the White House. I've been in that East Room once before, back when President Bush was the president, GW, and Tony Blair was the Prime Minister of the UK. I was an intern at one of the cable networks. No, not CNN or anything like that. It was at Fox. But anyway, that was back in 2005. That was well before I was ready for any kind of national kind of thing. But did a lot of local news since then. But anyway, was in there in the East Room of the White House. It was quite an experience, you know, to be around a president and a prime minister in the East Room of the White House. That's cool, right? But, you know, who cares anymore? What's cool, what's not? What's great is staying on the right side of history. That's what really matters. And working for we the people and being on the same team. You know, the people that work at this network, myself, Robert McNeely, Christina Loren, who are contractors right now, but still, Christina Loren, Megan Kohler, and all the hosts you've seen, or most of the hosts that you've seen, of course, at Right Side, of course, on the right side of history. So, yeah, just, you know, common sense people just like you that have families that want to see low taxes, that doesn't want big government, that wants capitalism to keep on going, conservatism, freedom, all of the things, you know. So that's what we want, just like you guys do. And if you don't want that, then maybe I might want to move to a different country. I don't know, because that's what we want here. The majority of the nation wants that, and hopefully we continue to have that. As I think that's Tulsi Gabbard and the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. So the Secretary, or the actual Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, sitting to the left of Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense. So any minute from now, right there in that middle section at the East Room of the White House, we're going to see the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, will walk right through the middle there, and we're going to take you there live in just a few minutes, or maybe a few seconds here, so you can get the feel of what it's like to be in that room. As it's 4:37, Thursday, August 7th, I'll throw it there in just a second, because I can tell that it's not 2 seconds away from the president. So we're going to go there soon. I know you want to be there, so do I, and we'll get there in just a minute. So as of this point, let me just double check quickly before we go to the president there. I want to look on X and Truth Social. I always like to check out various sites to see if there's any breaking news or anything like that. Right now on X, I don't see any breaking news.
What's up, Faded? Happy freedom to you.
Remember the Fort Stewart shooting? 5 of our Army soldiers were shot by one man who is now in custody. As of now, we haven't heard any reports about the 5 getting worse in the sense of their conditions. We know that they were in stable conditions, so that's good. But that kind of thing, when it comes to breaking news, whether it's something like that, which is awful, or in general, according to Disclose.tv, the White House demands that Putin must meet with Zelensky before he can meet with Trump. That may be true. We'll see. We'll have to see what President Trump says. I'm just reporting what Disclose.tv says, and usually they're on point. Now, let's go to the White House there in Washington, D.C. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for watching. Let's go to D.C. right now.
Make America great again.
he comes out, are you going to shoot him? So if you're going to be at this level, probably going to
I'm still in the album.
I know.
I can do it whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, because I'm going to probably try to do that.
Are we about to get a hot mic? These reporters are always making idiots out of themselves. How long does it take to walk from one room of the White House to the other side? Just imagine you rip a Skippy, Secret Service just takes you out.
Okay, so we're still, of course, standing by there. I was reading some of the comments on Rumble and YouTube. And you guys are some funny people. I like the comedy that I see on there, but also all of the thanks to RSBN and thanks to President Trump and just fun to read all the comments, and also some of the music choices that you'd want to play inside the East Room of the White House. I found some of those funny as well. But it is beautiful to listen into some of the ambiance, as they say, there at the East Room of the White House. So as soon as this gets rolling, we'll go right there. Also, again, this is going to be awesome. 100 people, 100 of our military members that were wounded in war are going to be presented with Purple Hearts today. So this is, again, August 7th is Purple Heart Day. And if you follow any accounts on Truth Social or on X when it comes to the military, a lot of posts about that when it comes to X as well. So
Klaus is letting you guys know President Trump will be out in just a moment.
Since about 2 o'clock Eastern time, going on 3 hours of coverage here. I believe that is Pete Hegseth right there, speaking to someone there in the middle of the aisle where the Commander-in-Chief will walk to the podium and then deliver, I'm sure, going to be a great speech that we're about to witness. And then the recipients of the Purple Heart will then have that happen at that time. Now, after that, the question I have just on the inside baseball question is, will there be a Q&A with reporters? Usually every event President Trump has, he does do that, but either way, we'll just watch it here together as it's 4:54 Eastern time. Again, August 7th. Thanks again for joining us on Right Side. We're monitoring any kind of news that's going on out there. A lot of different talking points and headlines and all of that, but really, if it's not common sense and it's not on the right side of history when it comes to some of the headlines that are out there, if it's not helping we the people, if it's not helping freedom or our country, you definitely want to look a little deeper and dig a little deeper into what they're trying to tell you, because it's all about having that awareness and having that knowledge of what's happening out there. And if it's coming against God, family, country, or the Constitution, usually it's going to be fake news. But anyway, still though, within that framework, of course, report truth. And that is on the side of truth right there, God, family, country. That's what the majority of you guys out there that are watching today are on that side of the aisle. And if you're on the other side of the aisle and you're watching us, hey, great, glad you're with us, and hopefully you'll stick around, because we're seeing some movement out there at the White House. So this might be any minute from now where the president will be entering that room. So let's throw it back to the East Room of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
United States.
Nice crowd. I even hear a young, beautiful voice in the background, and that's good. That makes us all feel young. I want to thank everybody for being here on the 200th day in office. This is 200 days already. Time flies. But we have a country that's the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. A year ago, it was in a lot of trouble. It's the hottest country. And a lot of the people in this room made it that way. Perhaps the most successful and consequential first 200 days, they say, of an administration in history. So let's hope they keep saying it. There they are right there. I hope they keep saying it. But even more importantly, this is also National Purple Heart Day, and we're here to honor and celebrate the unyielding patriotism and grit and devotion to America's Purple Heart veterans. Is great emotion and great love. The Purple Heart dates back to August 7th, 1782. That's a long time, when General George Washington awarded a heart-shaped purple cloth to 3 soldiers for outstanding gallantry and service in battle. This afternoon we're joined by dozens of Purple Heart recipients and their families, and just as General Washington did 243 years ago, today we give our everlasting thanks to you and your unbelievable families. We want to thank you very much for being here. We're also joined by American patriots who love our military and our veterans, including Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. You're doing a great job, Pete. Thank you. We're working hard together. Secretary of Veterans Affairs with 92% approval rating, I hear. It's a record. Doug Collins, thank you very much, Doug. The Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She's got a lot of interesting things happening in the last few months. Keep it coming, Tulsi, keep it coming. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, my friend. We got rid of ISIS in record time. They said it was going to take 4 to 5 years. He did it in 4 weeks. That's when I said, if I get into this again, I'm going to make him the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and that's what happened. Great job, and he did an incredible job in Iran. I want to thank you very much. Great job, General. Deputy Secretary of Energy and Purple Heart recipient, James Danley. James, thank you very much, James. And Medal of Honor recipient, Captain Paris Davis. Thank you. Where are you? Where might he be? Oh, look at you. You're better looking than I am, I'll tell you that. Thank you. Joined by the Marine Corps veteran who co-managed my 2024 campaign, a fantastic talent in many ways after he was wounded in battle for our country in Operation Desert Storm, Chris LaCivetta. So where's Chris? Thank you very much for being with your father. It's very nice. Every Purple Heart tells a story of courage, sacrifice, and purpose. It speaks of a price paid for the soldier beside you, the country behind you, and the generations of Americans yet to come. And we have some great generations to follow. It's going to happen. Those who wear this medal ran into bullets, faced ferocious bombs, and shed their blood on the field of battle. We will never forget what they did. We will always use them as an example of bravery and courage and strength. And we will also always think, when we look at them, of our great American flag. We want our great American flag to be strong, and it's stronger than ever. Since day one, my administration has used every power we have to fight for those who have fought for America. In 6 months, we have reduced the backlog of veterans' waitings. And that waiting list was very long, Doug, wasn't it, for the benefits, and it's 37%. So it's just, is that all you did, Doug? 37? I don't know, huh? That's incredible, actually. You're getting tremendous marks, and we appreciate it very much. We processed more than 2 million disability benefit claims this fiscal year, on track for the most ever. In fact, not even close. We're slashing wait times at the VA medical centers, and we're bringing back VA choice and VA accountability. As you know, we had it, and then the previous administration, let's go with the Biden administration, they decided to get rid of it. And you know, choice is where if you wait in line for an extended period, or you're not going to see a doctor for a while, you have the right to go out and get a doctor, and we'll pay for it, and you get yourself all fixed up real fast. You don't have to wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks, months like they were doing. And VA accountability, I'm very proud of those. We got them passed. Actually, Doug, you were a member of Congress when we did. You helped us a lot. But we got them passed in the legislature, so they're with us forever. And yet Biden found a way to not use them. But VA accountability, that's when we have bad people in the Veterans Association that were taking advantage of people, hurting people, and they weren't in prime time. In prime time, they wouldn't have touched them, but they weren't quite in prime time, and they were doing bad things. They were sadists, they were thieves, and some bad people. We had 9,000 of them. We fired every one of them, and it was a great thing. And then he put some of those people back. I don't know why they did that, but they did it. But we got them out again, I think, Doug, right? So it's good. So we had VA choice, VA accountability, something we're very proud of. I'm also working to keep my promise to end veterans' homelessness in America. In May, I signed an executive order to open the National Center for Warrior Independence in Los Angeles, California, which will house up to 6,000 homeless vets. It's going to be beautiful. Just last week, I signed the VA Home Loan Program Reform Act, a big deal, to help ensure no veteran is kicked out of their home for a late payment. If you're a little bit late, don't worry about it. And frankly, if you're a lot late, you don't have to worry about it either. You just get it in when you can. Get it in when you can. And America's veterans have done their duty for us, and under the Trump administration, we are doing our duty for you. Okay? That's the way it's supposed to be. One of our brave soldiers with us today is Army Veteran Specialist Kevin Jensen. In 2008, Specialist Jensen was a gunner in a Humvee racing to support a platoon ambushed by the Taliban in Afghanistan. His vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb, flew 10 feet. He flew 10 feet up into the air and exploded in flames. The whole place was on flames, including, unfortunately, Kevin. But he suffered deep third-degree burns, and all over his body he was in trouble, big trouble. Despite the agony, he selflessly ran to the aid of his platoon leader, who was engulfed, or just absolutely, everyone thought he was gone. He was engulfed in fire. "Sir, I've got you. I've got you, sir," Kevin shouted and pulled his friend to safety. Specialist Jensen earned the Purple Heart, and he's here today with the platoon leader whose life he saved, and our newly sworn-in VA Undersecretary for Medical Affairs, Captain Sam Brown. Kevin and Sam, please stand, and I know Sam very well. Sam is great. Okay. What a combination. He's okay, right? Great, sir. Look good. Thank you very much. You did a great thing, because I got to know him and his really beautiful wife. You know, you're not allowed to say beautiful anymore. It's political suicide, they say. But I'll say it anyway. And the most beautiful family you've ever seen. And I just want to thank you for having done, and you for your great bravery. It's really great. Thank you both for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you. Also with us is 24-year Army veteran Brian Willett. In 2010, Staff Sergeant Willett was conducting a resupply mission in Afghanistan when his vehicle was struck by a roadside bomb. You know who did the roadside bomb, right? Soleimani. Where is he? Where is he? Where is Soleimani? He did. He was the father of the roadside bomb. They say 92% of the people who got either killed or badly hurt, it was Soleimani. He was the one that did it more than anybody else by far. Leaving this person very seriously injured 7 months later, Brian's teenage son, Private Kevin Willett, who was also deployed to Afghanistan, was standing guard when insurgent forces attacked with heavy fire. The grenade knocked him out and knocked him right to the ground. He was in big trouble, but Kevin rose to his feet and successfully repulsed the attack on his camp, earning both the Purple Heart and Bronze Star for valor. And I'd like to ask Brian and Kevin to please stand wherever you may be. Hi. How are you? How are you? Good job. Good job. Two great people. I would say these are different types, right? These are different types, right? But same blood. That's all we care. It's very good. You both look great. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it. We're also joined by Marine Corps veteran Staff Sergeant Thomas Mateo, wounded 6 times during 2 tours in Vietnam. At the end of his first tour, shrapnel sliced open his abdomen and he was left bleeding, and they thought he was gone. He was on the jungle floor for a long period of time, but he recovered and chose to go back and fight. Thomas later continued to protect our citizens as police chief of Hialeah Gardens and Inverness. That's 2 good places. We love those places. We love Florida. Every time I ran there, I won, so I got to love it, right? Set records. We have the all-time record, Thomas. And he was one of the very rare 6-time recipients of the Purple Heart. Boy, you got hit. Where's Thomas? 6 times. You got to be kidding. That's pretty tough stuff. And look at you. You look fantastic. So did it have any negative impact on you, would you say, now that you're recovered, fully recovered, would you say? Do you get any extra aches and pains or anything? That's it. That's called an ache and a pain. That's right. I know. I have the whole list. It's amazing, and you look great. Thank you very much. That's some list. Thank you. It's amazing. Amazing. Last year, after an assassin tried to take my life in Butler, Pennsylvania, Thomas generously mailed me one of his Purple Hearts. Many of the other veterans showed me the same unbelievable gesture of kindness, including three-time Purple Heart recipient John Ford and Gerald Enter Jr., who also came along with us and did us a great, great favor. Gerald, John, and Thomas, I want to thank you very much. What a great honor to get those Purple Hearts. I guess in a certain way it wasn't that easy for me either when you think of it, but you went through a lot more than I did, and I appreciate it all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Where are you? Stand up, please. Please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was someday. That was someday we had together, though, huh? That was someday we had together. Thank you both very much. Thank you all. From the very beginning, our nation's fate has depended on heroes like those in the room who placed their bodies between the enemy fire, and really that fire and the American freedom that we all love so much. Because of their sacrifice today, our flag is still waving proudly, and our freedom is still safe and secure, and our future is looking brighter and greater than ever. Our country is doing really well. We're very proud of our country. We had that mission. I watched those B-2 bombers with those pilots. We had them in the Oval Office celebrating their incredible bravery and talent, pure talent. Every single bomb hit its mark perfectly. And then we had Tomahawks coming in, 30 of them coming in from submarines that were 300 miles away. They all hit their mark too. Look at this smile on you. You think that's your boy. Look at his smile. But pretty good, right? Pretty good. We had them and we celebrated all together. We actually had 52 tankers. Can you imagine? We had a lot of the people over to the White House, to the gardens, and it was an incredible day. It was a day of celebration. They've been looking to do that for 22 years. One of the pilots came up and said to me, you know, we've been waiting for 22 years, my predecessors, because he was a young guy, but he said, we've been practicing this 3 times a year for 22 years. Who knew that, Pete? And I said, you mean you knew exactly what to do? He said, every single year, 3 times a year, we'd practice for that specific event, and you were the one that had the guts to do it, send us on our way. And I said, were you happy or unhappy about the fact that I said, he said, we couldn't get into the planes fast enough, right? And he said, well, you guys are different, but they are really talented people and special. We've had some incredible success. But I want to give a very special thanks to all of the Purple Heart recipients that are with us today, and all over the country and all over the world, frankly. And I'll now sign the proclamation officially declaring this as National Purple Heart Day. Very special day. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. And that is not done by an auto
All right.
That lady trying to get a selfie with President Trump. He's like, yeah, let's go. I got other shit to do. Sit here and take pictures with you. Anyways, I got to continue getting the schedule together for Coffee with Hooligans. We'll be live in about an hour or two. I didn't think that was going to take that long, but it did. Either way, I'm going to drop this Linktree link really quick, and we're going to be wrapping this up. But like I said, we'll be live again probably a little bit more than an hour. I got to get the schedule together for Coffee with Hooligans. What's up, Brad? Happy freedom to you. Xterra, that hat? Yikes. Yeah, I don't know. She was a strange one. That's why he didn't keep her. He threw her back. Either way, there's a Linktree link where all of my links are listed. So if you'd like to make donations, join membership programs, or purchase any merch, would really appreciate it. All of your guys' contributions keep us running every day except for Sunday, because we've got to have a day to recharge those batteries. Definitely go join Discord. Discord is our free hooligan community. It's the best way to be notified every single time we go live. The hooligans there keeping the conversation going 24/7. And we have 2 news boards to keep you up to date with everything going on around the world. So definitely go join Discord. If you're feeling real saucy, go join jeffmaclive.com. Over on the website, it is the best way to experience a live. Our built-in chat has more ability than any other platform. You can post memes and GIFs and custom emojis and links and all kinds of stuff right there while watching the live. You also have access to Hooligans Alley, which is our private social media area. You'll have access to the forums, the arcade, and our advanced messaging system. So definitely go get yourself a membership for jeffmaclive.com. It's the home of the hooligans. Like I said, I'm going to get the schedule together, and we'll be live in a couple hours for Coffee with Hooligans. Make sure you hit that like button, follow, subscribe, or whatever it's called on whatever platform you're watching right now. And I'll see you guys in a couple hours.